Thank you for all coming today. My team and I are here from the UK on behalf of 4 English survivors of alleged rapes and serious sexual and physical assaults by Andrew Tate. The survivors cannot be here themselves, not because, as Tate tells his supporters, they are not real. They are very real, just as we aren't agents of the Matrix. We're just lawyers doing a job. And not because these survivors are afraid of him. He no longer holds any power over them. But because they do not and should not have to endure the campaign of threats, intimidation, and harassment that Tate has paid for, encouraged, and incited his lawyers and supporters to carry out against them, will ensure that those complicit in these attempts to bully and silence not only the survivors, but also witnesses to Tate's alleged crimes, will be subject to legal action both in the UK and the US. For too long, the lies, disinformation, and threats they have spread on social media have been allowed to continue unchecked. Just as Tate has a right to due process and a fair trial, the survivors of his alleged crimes and the witnesses to them deserve to be free from harassment and intimidation. This week, Tate served my firm and me personally with a notice that we would be sued for defamation if we continue to make the survivors' case against him public. Our message to him is that, as is our responsibility, we will continue to do our jobs. He is also perhaps upset because in the last few weeks, we successfully had his real world removed from both Google and Apple's app stores. This may have cost him $167 million in revenue a year. Contrary to what Tate says, we did not do this because we are targeting his businesses, but because it is important that someone puts a stop to his toxic hold on our children. We simply gave Google and Apple the information they needed to make the decision to remove it. If his loss of income makes it more difficult for his operation to hurt more people, this is also welcome. As well as imploring us to stop our work, he has also accused us of being paid by the mainstream media. Unlike him, we are not paid by and do not profit from the media or doing interviews. The survivors are not chasing money or fame. They simply want justice. Tate has asked that this notice that he sent to us be kept confidential, presumably because he is embarrassed by its contents, his paranoia, and conspiracy theories. But it is not confidential correspondence, and we have nothing to hide. A copy will be provided to anyone who wants it after this conference. I'm also here today to say that I am sorry that my country has let Romania down. Romania is leading the way in bringing Tate and his gang to justice, but it would not have to do so if the UK authorities had not prosecuted him when it had the chance. If they had done so, Tate would not have travelled to Romania and may not have gone on to carry out the alleged serious crimes he is now being prosecuted for, including further rapes. He would also not have been able to spread his toxic misogyny across the internet and the consequent harm that has caused women, while taking advantage of vulnerable young men and boys to make himself rich. The mistake Tate made is thinking that a man could get away with such behaviour in Romania. Thankfully, your country has proven this belief to be mistaken. We offer our full cooperation to the Romanian authorities. The UK police have told us that they believe there was enough evidence for a prosecution of Tate in England. We still do not know why our Crown Prosecution Service chose not to do so, but we're determined to find out. We are also determined to ensure that Tate will still face prosecution in England for his alleged crimes. Following the announcement by the survivors of their legal action, the Home Office has also encouraged the police to reopen their investigation. Tate denies that he has raped anyone. This is his right, and ultimately it is for a court to determine his guilt. Tate can tell his supporters that the Matrix has invented his rape victims. This is obviously not true. He can tell them that he absolutely respects women. Ted Bundy also said he loved women. Ultimately, a man is judged by his actions, not his words. Whatever Tate may say, it is our view that the evidence speaks for itself, as does Tate's text message to one of his alleged victims, which simply reads, I love raping you. Finally, I'd like to make a personal plea. Why are our male role models so conspicuously absent from this conversation? Why aren't they joining the debate to publicly challenge Tate's hold on the minds of vulnerable young men and boys and the consequences that is having on women? Where are the sportsmen, actors, businessmen, musicians, and artists? Why are the survivors having to do this alone? Why is Tate's toxic misogyny still be allowed to run rampant across the internet? In this case, silence really is complicity. We as men, especially if you are a parent, have a responsibility to do more. The survivors do not have millions of followers. They do not have millions of pounds made from coercing young women into sex work or vulnerable and impressionable young men and boys from signing up to a pyramid scheme. Nor do they have the support of the likes of Elon Musk. They need support, and you can show it by visiting their campaign page at crowdjustice.com and searching Andrew Tate. Thank you.
Good afternoon, everyone. My name is Jill Roth. I'm from the law firm of Laffey, Busey & Kent. And with me from the United States are Danny Pinter and Kristen Price from the National Center on Sexual Exploitation. We're here today in a very unique capacity. We have committed our careers to representing and fighting for survivors of sexual violence, sexual abuse, human trafficking. We sit here today as defense attorneys. We're defense attorneys because Andrew Tate and Tristan Tate and their lawyers in America have decided to sue our clients who are victims of human trafficking and sexual abuse. Now, this is unique for us to be fighting on the defense side, but it's a great opportunity for us to show the Tates that this is not going to be tolerated. I also want to be clear, despite what you may think about the United States, we are also not from the Matrix. We're from the real world. The Tates would have you believe that nothing in this room is real, you're all not real, the media is not real, only what he has to say is real. And I've been told that today the Tates now deny there is a U.S. suit. And if they're going to lie to you about that, what will they otherwise lie about? They will lie about everything. And again, we're here today because the Tates are now trying to take advantage of the American courts to undermine their criminal prosecution in Romania. And let me be clear, the lawsuit filed in the United States of America by the Tates and their attorneys have no basis in law, none whatsoever. We also want to make it clear that we're here today standing in solidarity, hopefully with other lawyers from around the world as they listen in, that there will be justice for the Tate brothers, anyone associated with them who have acted on their behalf, including their lawyers, and we're not going to stop fighting until that day comes. Now, because the Tate lawsuit has no basis in law, and I'm happy to share it with anyone who needs to see it, it's very clear to us, to everyone who reads that lawsuit, to lawyers across the United States, that that lawsuit is filed only with the intent to intimidate, to harass, and to retaliate against the women who came bravely forward to speak out against their abuse. As you may have heard from the Tate's own lawyer on Twitter, their American lawyer on Twitter, the U.S. lawsuit reads like a screenplay or a really good book, that it's action-packed with juicy tidbits. And they're right. The U.S. lawsuit is a work of fiction and imagination. But unfortunately for the Tates and their American legal team, the U.S. courts do not play in tactics, rhetoric, or inflammatory bombastic language. The U.S. courts consider the law, they consider precedent, and they consider the facts. And the facts of this lawsuit are absolutely and abundantly clear that the only people the Tates have to blame for their imprisonment and their prosecution by the Romanian government is themselves and their own selfish actions to take advantage of women, not for even their own pleasure, but for financial gain, for popularity, for publicity. And they've been able to successfully do that for quite some time. But thanks to the Romanian government and their quick action, they're believing and hearing the cries and pleas of our clients they are now actually facing justice, and they're facing real, true accountability. Now, again, when you read this lawsuit, it's nothing short of delusional and incompetence, quite frankly, for a lawyer to come into a court and try and blame young women victims and their families for your own imprisonment based on evidence. And you've all seen the picture on Twitter of the boxes and pages of evidence that the Romanian government has against the Tates. We don't know what it says. We haven't seen it. We haven't been entitled to see that yet. But what I can say is clearly the Romanians have done their work. They've dug and they've investigated and they've spoken with people. They've reviewed hard evidence. And now, again, the Tates want to come to America and start a fight with us in our courts. And we're here to say that we're not scared of you. We are here in your country, the country that you are now taking advantage of, to tell you that we're not going to stand for it. Now, I think that we've seen throughout the history of all of our countries what happens when powerful, wealthy men are able to rewrite history, who are able to lie to the faces of their millions of followers, frankly, about everything. The Tates would have you believe that they're being prosecuted and that they're being persecuted because of their opinions about traditional masculinity. Everything otherwise in the real world that we sit in says that they have committed crimes and they're going to be accountable for those crimes. Now, we represent Mary Doe and Jane Doe and other individuals in the American courts. And you may be wondering, who is Mary Doe? Who is Jane Doe? We haven't heard these names. And if you haven't heard them, I encourage you to read the recent federal court opinion from the United States, wherein a judge ordered that the women and the other named parties in the lawsuit are not to be called by their real names. And I emphasize this to everyone in the room, because if you publish the names of our clients in any media, you are violating a court's order. And I say this because the judge found, based on the evidence we provided, taken from the Tate's own Twitter, okay? We didn't make this stuff up. Taken from the Tate's own Twitter, that the women and their families' safety is at risk. They are in real physical danger, and the courts are taking the steps that they can at this time to protect them. Now, again, these are defendants. These are the defendants in the American lawsuit. The courts in America have decided it's so serious to protect these women victim defendants that they are willing to allow us to proceed under Doe pseudonyms. Now, I cannot stand here today. I can't sit here today and tell you that my clients, that these women are not afraid. They are. They're very afraid. They're terrified. They've been threatened. They've had people come visit their place of work, come to their homes. People are harassing them and attacking them and threatening them. They're scared. They're scared. And they have every reason to be so. Everyone in this room would be scared too. But we are not scared. We are here because we want to be the voice and the face for our clients to say that we're not scared and we're going to fight. I'm from Philadelphia, and if you know anything about Philadelphia, it doesn't matter how big or how loud you are, we are not scared and we will not back down. But what I will say is that these women are not going to be intimidated. They're not. They're scared, but they're not intimidated, and they will not be silenced. They're not going to back down from the statements, the honest, truthful statements that they made to law enforcement, to police officers. They're not going to be intimidated, and they will not back down, and neither will we. Now, unlike the Tates and their team, we don't have to rely on lies, rhetoric, theatrics, or wealth to win these cases. Neither do the Romanian authorities. So, unlike the Tates, we have the two most important weapons to fight them, which is the law and the truth. And when you have the law and the truth, justice will prevail. We want to extend our very sincere gratitude, appreciation, and respect to the Romanian authorities who answered the call and took immediate action, listened, and believed these women, our clients, and responded appropriately and legally to their cries for help. They rescued these women, and I don't want there to be any doubt about that. This is my first visit to Romania. I've never been in this country before. I have been so, I've felt so welcomed. I found the Romanians to be kind and generous and hospitable. They look out, I watch them, they look out for one another. They help one another on the street, on the train, in the restaurants. But they're also strong. They're also not afraid, and they're proud of their country, and they have every reason to be proud. They have every reason to be proud for the brave actions and the hard work of the Romanian authorities who continue to do the hard work every day to hold the Tates accountable through a fair and just and thorough investigation and prosecution. We're here on behalf of our clients and victims of sexual abuse and trafficking around the world to say that we see you, we hear you, we believe you. No matter how many men like the Tates tell you that you're a liar or you're a fraudster or a manipulator, we know the truth, and we are going to fight for you every single day until we see Tates and people like them brought to justice. Again, we're here in the real world. We're the real world, not whatever business the Tates want to, make millions off of trying to convince people otherwise. And we also see the Tates, and we see them for who they are. And no amount of Twitter attacks or mocking us or our clients or the courts is going to change that. We look forward to seeing the Tates held accountable in every court available and pursuing every legal remedy possible to make them pay for what they've done. Thank you. Again, for us is to defend our clients and advocate for them. And part of that is making sure that the information we have is also shared with the Romanian authorities. It's also to make sure that any information that they have that they can legally share with us, because we don't want to interfere with any investigation or criminal prosecution, but make sure that we all have the most important information to make sure that we're covered on all sides of the Tate's attacks.
But you know that you don't have the legal right to practice lawyer in Romania, to present in Romania as a lawyer. You know that, you know?
We are lawyers, and we're not presenting to a court or appearing to a court in any way
in front of
as
the
lawyers.
Authority, of public authority, is still the quality of a lawyer when you represent a client and not your personal interest.
This isn't our personal interest. We're doing this for free, this work.
May I ask a question? Sorry, are you a representative of the press or Mr. Tate? I'm just wondering. You did introduce yourself.
I'm representative of the civil society. I don't have here. I'm not in the court.
No, I just wanted to clarify who we were talking to.
As Mrs. Gillian
He's part of the legal team.
He's Mr. Tate's lawyer. Sorry, that's what I wanted to establish. I think you should probably, again, for the sake of transparency and honesty and the manner in which your client and yourself have conducted yourself, maybe be honest. Maybe that should be the starting point.
You asked me
no, you're not,
about
sir.
my quality in this room today.
You have very little quality, sir. Introduce yourself as who you are before you ask a question.
Eugen Constantin Vidinar. I am lawyer in Romania.
For Mr. Tate?
For Mr. Tate is one of my clients.
Okay. Ah, right, thank you.
Thank you. But I have a question for Mr.
Is there any other questions?
Matthew.
We answered
No, we're here for questions from the press, thank you.
Press conference, please.
One of their citizens and their victims in this criminal case are being sued to intimidate and harass them. We need them to know that.
What I
any ongoing case?
could you introduce yourself,
hold on.
please?
My name is Matea Petrescu, I'm an independent journalist. Is there any ongoing case against the Tates in the US or the UK? Because to my information, there hasn't been any case filed in the UK yet.
So in the UK, if you understand English law, we're obliged to take...
I do understand English law, yes.
Okay, I would like to explain, though, to the others here. I wasn't directing that at you. There's no need to be combative. Thank you very much. So what I was about to explain, given the opportunity, is that in England we're required to follow pre-action protocols. And we take our job very seriously, we take our profession very seriously, and those are the steps that we're undertaking. So civil proceedings are underway in the UK.
Would you be able to detail what stage of the civil proceedings are you in
I just
now?
did.
have to do with it.
Any other questions?
I did, thank you.
Yes, here, for Mrs. Gillian Road, you told earlier
This is
that,
a press conference.
so if you talked earlier
No, please.
about transparency, please let me talk.
It's a press
It is a lie.
conference. No,
Let me speak.
it's a press conference.
You are in Romania as guests.
Well, sir,
You
we're happy to
invited
have a
anyone
conversation
to put
with
questions.
you.
If you wish to have
And
a
for
conversation lawyer to lawyer, we can do in the proper
and for
forum.
transparency is not from lawyer to lawyer.
I don't know
It
whether
is
you
for
get this from your client, but
transparency.
intimidating and
You
harassing and
raised
seeking
a
to
lot
bully
of
people is just not the done
claims
thing.
about Tate here, and do you want only, we want
Could we have a
only
question, please?
for transparency,
Okay, sir.
to clear the things.
I'll ask you
And
to
I
read
have
the
only
ruling.
one question. Only one question. You
You
told
had already
earlier
4
that the
questions,
trial in America against one of the alleged victims has no evidence. Have you read the messages between the two alleged victims where they were planning
We're
to
not
lie
doing this.
to
Tell them
prosecutors?
to go. Tell them to go.
This is a joke. You're trying to destroy all the arguments, right?
No, I am trying.
Let's hear the truth.
I am
It's
trying.
It's time
There
for
were-
truth.
from my
Who
point,
establishes
Romania
the truth?
needs
I'm
truth.
sorry.
who establishes the truth?
Hold your own
Not
press
the
conference
justice
if you wish to
and
do so.
the judge.
Jack, can we have...
Look, all
People informed.
I'll say, and this is the last thing I'll say, is that the United States courts will review the evidence that the Tates have provided.
Exactly.
And they will. And we have reviewed it as well. On my belief as a lawyer who has done this work for a while, there is no legal basis for what the Tates
But
state
it's
in the
only
United.
personal.
You're
Okay,
gonna
that's it.
disagree.
We're not getting involved in
You're
your
gonna disagree.
circus, please. Can we have some questions from the press? Thank you.
Felicia Macadez, Euronews Romania.
Well, yes.
I've noticed that never in your speech or like your statements, you have never used the word alleged victims. As lawyers and as practitioners of law, isn't it normal that you use the presumption of innocence until
Said
there
alleged
is a
the entire
decision by a court of law? Because you say that they are victims, however, the fair practice is to say alleged victims until a judge has issued a decision that definitely decides that they are or have indeed been victims.
I'll answer your question. I've used alleged repeatedly, but I'll also say this. I believe the evidence strongly demonstrates that Andrew Tate is a rapist, and moreover, a serial rapist who likes to throttle women until the eyeballs, the blood vessels in their eyeballs burst, and he continues having sex with them.
Liar, you're a liar.
And I'll
But
also
you
say,
believe that. You believe
I just
that.
said I believe that, yes.
you
and,
believe
and
that.
if I may, to your question,
As a lawyer, I asked you.
Please
not
don't
to
turn
avoid
this into
no.
a circus.
Sorry.
to your question,
Please
the
don't turn this into a
federal
circus.
judge in the United
I've
States.
answered your
But
question.
however, I will ask this nonetheless.
Yeah.
You're paid to do that.
Sorry,
Thanks, enough.
and
How many
even if
victims
I was, everybody is.
Sorry, sir, yes.
how many victims, alleged victims, are in UK and how many are in the United States? And where were they were assaulted, in Romania or in
Tate have tried intimidating them.
Yes, we told the U.S. court, and the court granted them anonymity as a protection measure.
Is there any additional protective measure that has been decided by the court in the United States?
Not yet, but we're seeking all protection that we can.
Excuse me, when has happened this intimidation?
I'm sorry, could you introduce yourself, please?
Adina Angelescu, I'm a very old journalist. I'm collaborating with Antena 3 and doing good.
Okay, thank you.
Okay. When has happened this intimidation?
Suing victims of an active criminal case for $5 million while saying
When?
that you...
When? In time?
July 2023 in Florida, the United States. They were sued.
So in your opinion.
If we don't have any other questions from the
I am a
press,
journalist, excuse me. So in your opinion, for you to your right to justice, it's intimidation. Can you, would you mind responding to that? So what makes
It's
the difference?
intimidation when you lie in court filings. That's intimidation.
But how can you assess the
I'll
lie?
answer the question. It's intimidation when you make a baseless case without merit against your professional code of conduct and ethics purely for the purpose of intimidating and harassing
But
witnesses
who are you
and
to decide that?
claimants.
I mean, I understand
What's
it's
your
opinion,
newspaper,
but-
lady?
how many?
I answered your question.
Sorry, how many
You're a
trials
journalist?
are there?
Where?
Sorry, we're going to take one more question from
Independent
this
journalist.
man
I
here.
know
Independent?
with three
Oh, you're an
publications.
independent
Yes.
journalist. For who?
So,
sorry.
But who are you?
Sorry,
we have one.
Who are you?
If you cannot be quiet while other people ask questions, you have to leave. We're taking one last question.
One final question,
Why?
please. The gentleman in green.
There is a lawsuit intended by Mr. Tate in the USA.
I'm sorry, I
and
didn't
another
catch
one in UK. So it's both
They're
countries.
two different lawsuits. So.
There's two different lawsuits. In the United States, the Tates have sued. They're the ones suing the victims. We're here defending them.
In Romania, we
And another one in the UK, the same.
They threatened my law firm with proceedings, with defamation proceedings, for simply doing our job. Are there any more questions? I think we can take one more from.
Excuse me, sir.
Yes, of course.
Why the alleged victims are now considering a civil lawsuit after a lapse of 7 years?
Why are they? I'll put this very plainly. If you are the victim of rape or sexual assault, it doesn't matter when you bring your claim. You're entitled to bring it at any point. So,
European directive. European directive.
yes.
European directive.
So, when this happened, the traffic...
Excuse me, please.
When this happened, the traffic, person traffic, because you say that in Romania it's the traffic of person, to these alleged victims, yes? So when this happened, the rape or the traffic person in Romania with these alleged victims.
I'm sorry, I don't understand the question. It may not be for me.
All right, let's go.
I would like to.
I will use because you don't bring a translator, you don't show respect. I will translate.
Excuse me, I'm
No,
thank you.
Când a avut loc acest trafic de persoane pe care spun presupusele victime în România, da? Și ce probe există sau aveți dumneavoastră ca avocați ai acestor presupuse victime? Ce probe referitoare?
I'm terribly sorry, but no, I
you should have got a translator because you are in Romania. I offered to translate, but you refused. So would
sorry,
you like me to?
I think what I'd like to say, just as a passing comment, as many of you already here may know, the Tate, I'm speaking, please. The Tates threatened to disrupt this press conference,
Yes.
and evidently, his legal team are fulfilling their responsibilities. Yes, I do. Thank you. So, I think we've finished for today. Unfortunately, I don't think we can carry on.
Just as a closing statement, just to clear this up, because these are still allegations as far as.
Puteți să spuneți ceva în microfon, vă rog frumos de test?
Salut, suntem în 5/10/2023. Se aude? E ok totul?
Da.
Încep? Bună ziua, mă numesc Eugen Constantin Vidineac. M-am prezentat astăzi la o conferință organizată de echipele de legal ai presupuselor victime ale fraților Tate, potrivit unei invitații transmise în mediul online. Invitație deschisă pentru orice persoană este doritoare să participe la această conferință de presă. Și m-am prezentat, interesul meu fiind ghidat în primul rând de lipsa de informații din acea invitație și de mesajul transmis, respectiv că se dorește să aibă loc o strângere de fonduri.
Nu este adevărat, n-a fost strângere de fonduri.
A fost,
există o rugăminte.
Vă rog să nu mă întrerupeți din...
Numai puțin.
Vă dau informația.
Stai numai o secundă. Alin, așteaptă puțin. Vă citesc din comunicatul de presă dat de McJury & Partner. Reclamantele din acțiunea legală din Marea Britanie au demarat un crowdfunding pentru a-și plăti taxele legale. Acestea vă roagă respectuos ca toate relatările pe acest subiect să includă un link către pagina lor de Crowd Justice și apoi linkul. Asta este comunicatul dumneavoastră, este comunicatul
Eu am vorbit despre conținutul invitației.
Aceasta a fost invitația, despre asta era.
Am proprietatea termenilor mei.
Repet, este cu antet de la dumneavoastră, vă rog să vedeți. Dumneavoastră, vă rugăm să vă prezentați, că asta este...
Vă rugăm să vă prezentați, dacă nu o să mă facă nu vă aud. Bun. Ideea este în felul următor. Ca urmare a conferinței de presă susținută de distinșii noștri colegi veniți din alte state, unde s-au folosit expresii de genul frații Tate mint, inculpații au săvârșit. S-au folosit expresii, din punctul meu de vedere, nelegale la acest moment, câtă vreme nu avem o instanță de judecată care să fi stabilit cu putere de lucru judecat vinovăția fraților Tate. Am încercat în mod transparent, elegant, politicos față de oaspeții noștri să lămurim anumite aspecte din cele relatate și transmise dumneavoastră în cadrul conferinței de presă, însă într-un mod, spun eu, destul de nepoliticos și agresiv, doar pentru că am calitatea de avocat și apărător ales al fraților Tate, nu mi s-au răspuns la întrebări și am fost absolut refuzat pentru a lămuri niște chestiuni ce țin de etica profesională, de respectarea principiilor fundamentale ale dreptului, de expresii jignitoare precum bandă, Tate și avocații lor, care fără a arăta în ce anume constau probele pe care se bazează, fără a arăta care sunt numele victimelor pe care le reprezintă, însă au înțeles, din punctul meu de vedere, să promoveze o acțiune de denigrare împotriva unor persoane care se bucură de prezumția de nevinovăție în numele unor persoane absolut anonime.